Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently in the interim stages between two debates, so I'm going to hand over to the panel, or not. We've actually got Ranty here. How you doing, Ranty? Can you still hear us?
I can, and Tony's here as well.
Hey, Tony.
Woo-hoo.
Hello. Well, I haven't opened the mic on the panel yet, although we've got a full panel of guests. I'll do a full intro for them when the live show starts. But how are you two before we involve everyone?
Well, we've just got off we've just done a stream for Roxanne.
Oh,
so
cool.
She'll be releasing that at the weekend, and we was on there for about an hour and a half, weren't we, Tony?
Yeah, I was more passenger on that one. I didn't have much to say. I think I was just there for the ride.
Did you enjoy the ride?
Bit bumpy at times, but it were all right. Couple of potholes.
Excellent. So when's that premiering?
Saturday morning.
Yeah, she's got a Saturday morning show called The Wide Awake Club. So what she does is she records it at some point during the week and then plays it early morning on a Saturday. Because there's a lot of people up on Saturday mornings early because of kids and whatnot. But there's also a lot of Americans that are like late going to bed because it's the Friday night for them. So she's trying to jump into the market where she gets an overlap between the two.
That's good marketing, that, if she can do it.
Slick.
I
like watching her at what's it called, Corner.
Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, when the stream works, it's really good.
Yeah, they're playing around with the stream though. I mean, how likely is it in central London that you can't get a decent mobile internet connection, right? It's central London. You should be able to get it very, very easily. But yeah, she can't get it. She
can do it just about though. I mean, I watched this guy, Lewis Rossman, his name is. He's out in New York, and he can't even get a wired connection that works properly out in New York. And he's paying, I'm not kidding, he's paying thousands of dollars for internet. And it just beggars belief that you can't get a reliable connection. He had 2 lines, and he still didn't manage to make transactions work because he didn't have working internet. And you're like, how much is he paying for this? But they've just got. We are very privileged here in the UK with our internet. You know, we have got very good internet.
And you know, we've got to give credit for that. Annoyingly, Tony Blair under the Labour government from the late '90s, early thousands,
right?
Because it was one of his manifesto pledges that he would speed up significantly broadband access to everybody. And he's done exactly what he said he was going to do. He's made, well, I don't know whether he has, but it seems to coincide with a significant speed improvement for everybody. So shout out to Tony Blair.
Yeah, shout out retracted.
Yeah.
Shout out mass murderers on this show. No. Right, I'm going to open the mic on the Hangout. So
before we do that, can I just plug my drone campaign and so do some thanks to some people that have donated?
Of course you can. When it goes out on the backup channel, this show goes out at, I don't know what, it depends on how long it lasts for, but it'll go up maybe 9 or 10 o'clock, maybe 11 if it's only an hour. But yeah, feel free to spam your link. You're a mod in that channel, so spam the GoFundMe. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so a massive thank you to Colin Turner, who donated £100. £100. That's quite a lot of money. It's an awful lot of money, especially to us guys. And Bruce Lacey, £10. And I'm going to thank this other guy. I think he's called Shane Cook. I think he donated £10 as well towards it. So
I did not bet him though.
He is a bit of a knobhead. But essentially, it's to get this drone, and if we can couple the drone with the P1000, and I can do some research down as regards to tides, etc. It's going to be very, very useful. The P1000 was great last year for the Imperial Mirage and compression, but working on the tides and the issues with wave heights, etc. I think we're going to need a drone for that. So that's why I've put this campaign out, and if people want to support me,
I think
I would very much
will
appreciate it.
I mean, Yeah, you have your moans occasionally about how it's not paying off, and nobody expects it to. It's YouTube after all. So when it comes to, it's like, well, this is what you get out of it. You get the equipment that we get the benefit from, if that makes sense. So while it's not financially rewarding, I would hope at the very least I will support you. I haven't yet. I wasn't the first, grr, otherwise I'd have done it. I rushed to be the first, and someone beat me to it. And I was like, well, I'm in no rush now. Yeah, I like to be at the top of the list with the GoFundMes, but I will definitely contribute towards it, and it's because I benefit from what will come of it. Do you know what I mean? So I think other people watching this show and yours will feel the same way and contribute towards it. And if we can do a ranty-a-thon on your channel, I know I've suggested it before, but hopefully before the end of the week, we'll do a ranty-a-thon and generate some interest that way. But it worked so well last time with me genning up the people from the chat and encouraging you to put more and more material on while you talk about your material, because that's what it's all about. As much as it will reach a wide audience.
Think of the advancements we got with the work that was done last year. The guys, the globers, the hierarchy are now agreeing that the inferior mirage hides the bottomless stuff. They also agree to compression, and they're now trying to put this data into their ray charts to try and combat all this information that's been brought out with the P1000, specifically in the work that I did last year. And now we're going on to shoaling and sea swells and tide and wave heights and incorporating all this data too. It's looking terrible for the globe. It has to be said. And I'm not sitting on my backside not working. So if I do get a drone, trust me, it will get used. It will get a lot of use.
I don't disbelieve it for a second. Right, 60 seconds and we're starting. Shall I bother opening the mic on the guys for the pre-show, or shall I just wait till the live show starts?
Just live show it. Just live show it.
In that case, I'll just get my stuff together and just actually start then in that case.
By the way, how was the first show? Because, we essentially didn't get to see much of it.
Well, the first thing that happened was I was accused of being unfair to Brenda yesterday for having 6 circle jerks of the same answer that didn't answer the question, and then booting her. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll keep her in. So I kept her in for 40 minutes. I did eventually kick her because we were on any signs of Earth curve. She claimed Jaren proved it, and then didn't back it at all. She tried to formulate it into a hypothesis, if height of light... the cause being a guy raising and lowering, the effect being height of light. That was how she formulated the IV and DV. Just an absolute waste of space, waste of time, useless. But we had 40 minutes of it. It's painstaking for me to try and keep my temper, which I didn't. I lost it twice. when the point's made, which is ignored, I'm like, that's not a dependent, that's not Earth curve then, or whatever, gets me annoyed, because it's like, that is the point, and it normally gets talked over, rumpus, whatever. But yeah, I've got to start the live show.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. To join the community debate, go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Physics Warrior, Paul, P-Mars, Eliza, Chris, Chocolate Sane, Arwin, Anon Moto, and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Hello, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
Good morning.
Good to be
Hello,
here.
hello, hello.
Good afternoon.
Massive panel. Should we have a bash at housekeeping, as we got one question on the last show, thanks to Brenda. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Nope.
Go,
No
Pete.
proof, Nathan.
Come on, Pete. All the globe, the whole globe is counting on you on this question right here.
Well, I seen Jose Gonzalez's hairline seemed pretty obstructed.
Earth curvature. Earth curvature. Earth curve.
Yeah, boats going over the horizon, Nathan. That's proof of Earth curve, isn't it?
No.
No,
Wait,
it's not, is it?
I thought we were too big to see the curve, or the Earth is too big for us to see the curve. But now boats can go over the curve. How does that work?
It doesn't. That's how.
Copy that.
Boats just get too small to see. It's an effective perspective. It's just the curve maths hijacks the effects of things getting smaller in the distance, disappearing from bottom up due to a limited angle, and they call that effect Earth curve, excluding all effects of perspective. Shout out to Colin Turner for hitting the super chat. You also got a shout out on the pre-show, Colin Turner, for supporting Ranty Flat Earth's GoFundMe campaign. So hopefully Ranty's got the live chat flowing by him. And if he sticks a link to his GoFundMe, check it out. So Ranty's got a GoFundMe currently for a Mavic Pro. So Ranty, who, let's be honest, doesn't exactly make a mint out of doing YouTube videos, but we definitely benefit from what he does. And in terms of support that he could do with most highly or most above all is sort of support to buy this sort of equipment, because it will get utilised, and I will certainly support Ranty's GoFundMe also. So hopefully I'll stick a link in the chat. Check it out. We'll also do a Ranty-a-thon hopefully this week, where Ranty will run some of the footage that he's got from previous observations and hard work that he's done. And hello. So yeah, we'll run that by you as well. So I'll keep you posted in terms of when that is. So we're going to move past Earth curve and move on to axial rotation. Any objections? Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Ooh.
I think
Almost got
Bob from Globebusters found some.
Tell us all about it.
Well, I heard that he had a fiber optic gyro, and he detected 15 degree, per hour or something rotation.
lateral rotation, right?
Hold on, 15 degrees of what?
I think he said it was the ether turning, but it's pretty consistent result with also this Earth spinning.
Lateral rotation.
So it's asserted that this 15-degree rotation is the Earth rotating underneath the fixed frame of the gyro. Oh, I understand. No. I've taken this apart quite a few times, P. If the Earth rotates underneath the gyro to the degree that you state, then it would also rotate underneath aeroplanes and helicopters and balls that you throw and anything else that's in that second reference frame. But that doesn't happen. So it can't possibly be showing the Earth rotate underneath, because the Earth doesn't rotate underneath, P.
Okay.
How long did it take to move 15 degrees, P? Do you know?
I think it was an hour.
An hour?
I believe. My memory sucks though, so.
It's going to be a horizontal rotation anyway, so it doesn't make any damn sense. It wasn't on the North Pole or anything.
I'd like to make a statement. My uncle was a M1 Abram tank operator, and several, back in the day before he retired. And I went and asked him. I said, when you were targeting tanks, or when you were doing your shooting, did you account for this thing called the Coriolis effect? What do you think his answer was?
No, because there isn't one.
Exactly. Nothing. He didn't account for it. He did account for wind, pressure, angle of it. Angle. A lot of things he counted for, but the Coriolis effect was not one of them.
Lastly,
Well, I'm still waiting to see somebody take a shot and adjust for Coriolis. Why is that? If that's such a thing, why has that not been filmed yet? Why are not snipers doing it all over the place and showing us that?
Because it's not
Oh,
a
it's
thing.
top secret?
If it was a
Exactly.
thing, the thing that would demonstrate it the most severely would be aeroplanes, and they don't. So it's just not a thing. That's why it won't be demonstrated. See, bullets have got a hang time of a few seconds, whereas airplanes are in the air for hours at a time, and you'd definitely notice this effect if it was there, and it's not. So the Earth isn't rotating underneath planes. The continents don't come towards you as you fly through the air, and you're never having to battle against the Earth curve rotation. You know, that doesn't happen.
Well, they argue that the reason that it doesn't happen on an airplane versus a bullet is because the airplane is, I think they call it machined or manual flight, so it's sort of controlled where the pilot can make adjustments where he needs to, whereas the bullet is not controlled.
So the plane has an engine. That's the difference, but it's not in the same air that the bullet is in.
No, the plane has a pilot that's adjusting.
Yeah, that's great. Isn't the plane and the air when they're flying in the same air that the bullet is in?
I'm not arguing for Coriolis. I'm just
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, look how it sounds.
It does.
Listen to how it sounds. It's just ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous. And in any case, when you're firing out of a weapon, you're going to experience recoil, and that's going to deflect the bullet off of target. Like, you can't hit a bullseye 5 times in a row. And why is that? It's because of recoil that's causing the bullet to stray off a target. But they never take that into consideration. It's always the spin of the Earth and rotation that's making that deviation happen.
I mean, if that was the case, then real life would be the edit. Has anybody seen that movie Wanted, where they were throwing bullets with the guns? They were curving bullets around corners. Like, it would be like that.
Nonsense.
Just, let me use this Coriolis to hit somebody behind the corner of a building, and Come on, man.
It doesn't work like that, man.
Yeah, I remember too. I was flown in the Cessna in the military, and also here recently. And the one thing about a Cessna, it doesn't have autopilot. And I actually got to take the controls of the plane for a short amount of time. And I don't remember having to constantly adjust my course to try to keep myself from where I was heading when he was allowing me to fly the plane. I don't remember that. And I never saw the horizon start to drift to the right or to the left. I don't remember that at all. So I'm not a pilot, but I've got to fly in a plane too.
We still doing housekeeping?
Yeah, of course. Just rounding out axial rotation. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope. That's very easy to presuppose.
What about the distance to the sun?
There's no confirmed measured distance to the sun.
You're on fire, Arwen. What about any evidence of gas pressure without a container for all the fundies who believe in space?
Nope. Container
comes first, then
gas pressure.
Is that you, Ranty?
Absolutely not. It's the most ridiculous notion I've ever heard. Nobody can prove it. It's never been proven. Never will be proven because it's a... What is it, Nathan? It's a what? Second... what is it, Nathan?
It's a violation of a law of nature is what it is.
That was all. Oh, well, it'll do.
I'd like to ask Keith something along those lines, if you don't care. So if you see how we handle it. Under the heliocentric model, during the Big Bang Theory, one of the first things that was formed was hydrogen, I guess. So how in a vacuum how do you think in a vacuum a gas began to pull itself together to make solids? Can you talk to me through that, T?
It would just be gravity, right? Mass would attract mass, so it would just clump up.
But doesn't that overcome if the gas disperses under the second law of thermodynamics? So it's equally dispersed through the whole system, right?
Well, wouldn't the force of gravity would resist the
What?
Can you show me this in an experiment? Show me how in a vacuum that this force of gravity will pull all the molecules in a vacuum of gas to form solids. Can you show me that in a lab? Can you show that?
No, you could see it in a telescope if you look at Jupiter or Saturn.
I thought space had zero gravity.
And actually, wouldn't you have to have some level of really strong gravity to start to pull all those together? But if they're hydrogen, they have very weak mass. There's no very little mass there.
Right.
So with the force of gravity very weak at that point, very, very weak.
Yeah, but if you got a bunch of hydrogen, then it would get strong at one point. A bunch of hydrogen.
But it's in a
What, strong in one direction?
Hold on, that's the question. That's the question he's asking. So you're saying if you've got a bunch of it, well, how do you get a bunch of it if it's dispersed equally?
Electric bunch.
Because it is attracted to each other.
No, it's not. That's the point. It's dispersing in all directions randomly. It's not going towards each other.
Yeah,
That's not what it's doing. It's in fact doing the opposite to that, P.
The universe is expanding, so they're getting further and further apart from each other in a vacuum. So the vacuum is getting larger and larger and larger.
No, that's technically incorrect. Vacuum can't get larger.
Okay, space is getting larger, so the volume of the vacuum, what was supposedly the volume of the vacuum, is getting larger. How's that?
Oh, the container, you mean?
The non-container container.
Superior, mega, ultra-sized outer space container.
Let's not get too sidetracked by this particular part of nonsense that doesn't make sense in the heliocentric explanation. Look, yes, you just have to accept that the vacuum is getting bigger, even though that's not possible, and it's expanding into something else that's not nothing, but is expanding it into it. Just accept all of that crap, and let's move on.
Okay, Nathan, you got me. I'm moving on.
Well, cool. You can still ask the same question. Notwithstanding that it's an increasing vacuum expanding into something that's not nothing, but it's still managing to expand into it. Notwithstanding all that nonsense, how does hydrogen, which is expanding all directions into an expanding vacuum that's expanding into something else that we don't understand and doesn't exist because it's not the edge of space, but it is the edge of space because it's expanding, how do they go together? The hydrogen.
I think I have the answer.
Excellent.
It's caused by relative density.
More comical would have been to blame it on Earth curve.
Coriolis.
No, but they always say gravity, so I thought it was like that's caused by relative density.
They use gravity too much. They got to start spreading these excuses. So they got to throw more Coriolis. We need more Coriolis.
Yeah, can I round out a point I was making?
Go ahead.
Could you please share my screen, Nathan?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hopefully I got all the porn links closed.
You don't want to pull a West Stace?
No, I don't.
I found 10 steps to how stars and planets form, so I don't know if you want to know, you can Google that.
No, that'd be great. I'm just waiting for Chris to share his screen, but if you want to tell us what he's...
Oh, wait, no, it's me to share my screen. Let's see here. Never done this before. Screen share. Okay. Share. Can everybody see my screen right now?
Yeah, we've got your Hangout at the moment, but...
Okay.
Sharing the link, we're going to get porn bombed.
I give out the link.
Yeah.
I know, I'm joking.
The link's public. So, what are we looking at?
Okay, so can you see the YouTube video?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, so the point that I was making earlier is the cause that we're looking at here is density, and we can manipulate the independent variable. We can vary it to see and confirm whether it is in fact the density that's causing the effect that we're looking at. And the effect that we're looking at is buoyancy. So in this example, as stated earlier, the egg in the first glass is at the bottom of the water because the egg has a a larger relative density in contrast to the water that it's in. But when salt is added to the second glass that the egg is in, the egg floats. And this is because we're changing the relative density of the water in contrast to the egg. So it has a higher relative density, which is why the effect that we're seeing is the egg being displaced or floating to the top of the glass. I'm going to use another example here so I can wiggle it a little bit so that it becomes a more valid scientific experiment. So in this example, we're looking at balloons in a gas container. And the gas that's in this container is being sucked out by this hose. And these balloons each contain helium inside them. So the balloons float to the top of the container as long as the air inside the container is kept constant. But when we begin to suck the air out of the container, we see an effect that happens in relationship to the density of the balloons and the density of the air around the balloons. So once the air is sucked out, the balloons fall to the bottom of the container. And the explanation that was used for why that happened in this video, I don't particularly agree with, because the explanation was that the balloon tipped over because the air that was in the second balloon filled the top of the container. And because it did that, it pushed against the balloon and forced it to tip over. But I think what happened in this experiment is that because the balloon popped, the force of the air rushing out of the balloon to fill the surrounding container is what caused the balloon to tip over. So both of these experiments, both the egg in the water with the varying levels of salt solution and the balloons in the container with the varying levels of air in the container, prove my point that its density in relationship to the environment of what we're observing is in that is causing that effect, which is buoyancy. So the phenomenon that we're seeing is buoyancy. Is it natural? Yes, it is, because we see it with the cannonball example that I mentioned earlier, because the cannonball is falling to the floor because it's more dense than the air that it's in. And isn't that buoyancy? Because it's dealing with both density and density in relationship to a medium, which is the atmosphere. So yeah, that's just the point that I wanted to round out.
Very good.
How do I stop sharing my screen right now?
Just click on the same button, move your mouse over, and on the left is a screen share. Click and it'll. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. That was,
real
that was
quick,
great, Chris.
I'm going to drop. Chris Berry wanted to come in, so I'm gonna drop phone.
Okay, so we'll be shortly joined by Red Rhetoric, hopefully.
I would say what's happening in that.
Just before everyone comments, thank you very much, Chris.
You're welcome, Nathan. I just felt I needed a visual representation of what I was talking about so it could make a little bit more sense to the viewers, especially.
Been joined by Red Rhetoric. How you doing, Reg?
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, this is Reds. I'll be on Non Sequitur Show Saturday night versus Fight the Flat Earth. And I'll be bringing up a lot of these points because they make perfect sense and there's no such thing as gravity. So yeah, I don't want to, not to interrupt, but I'll just like to present what I have and then I can jump off for either chocolate
Saturday.
or
Is that Saturday night?
Yeah, Saturday night.
Nice. I will check that out.
Yeah.
God.
Okay. What did you want to present?
Yeah, let me pull up. I just need to pull up a couple links so I can show some data. All right, let me present my screen.
Yeah.
All right, you good? Okay, so I came out with a video called Flat Earth Magnification Due to Refraction, Is It Real? So we've all seen the Rob Skiba video where he uses the Fresnel lens and he he gets the city to magnify to where the bottom 3/4 or so is cut off, 50% at least, and basically sort of shows that that's definitely a possibility with why we see certain buildings cut off. Tim Osman likes to come on and show that. He's got. Sorry.
I said hello, Anthony.
All right, yeah, he was on Skype anyway. He's just joined the hangout.
Yo.
Hello. Go ahead, Chris.
So, I've been on Jose's a lot, and Rumpus goes on there and he presents. He's got his this slide here, or this slide presentation he's got online, and he shows this image, and a lot of people think it's Rantes. It's actually a guy named Al K. And I've been looking at all these images, and something just didn't make sense to me. Like, well, how are all these images? Like, for example, on this one I was looking, and if you look at this turbine, it's obviously the closest because it's the tallest, right? And we know from perspective alone that when something's closer, it's going to be taller. If you look at the top part of the head, and if you compare it to the head of the turbines as they fall away, supposedly due to the curve, the heads are about the same angular size. And we know from experience that angular size reduces with distance. And if you look at this one, it's not 100%, but if you put it in Paint or some program, it's about 85% the same angular size. But look how much further down supposedly the curve it is, right? To be that much lower, what is it, 70% lower than this one? But the top of it is about the same angular size. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, why are all these images of things multiple miles apart the same angular size? So then I came across this image on Metabunk forum that a guy who, by the way, he's a baller, and he thought he was proving the curve. So I was looking at this image, and I'm like, this image just doesn't make any sense. Like, look how big. Oh, by the way, this is 30. These windmills are 36 and 40, between 36 and 45 kilometers away. Okay, and he's on the beach here, looking at it, and he's got full zoom. But I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Look how big these are. It looks like they're right next to the horizon. Like they would have to be if that's how big they would look from an angular perspective size. So then if you look here, look at this. This guy, he says same distance, same zoom. Okay, so it's not changed due to distance or zoom. Now look at the turbines. All he did was he raised his elevation to 24 meters, and look at the difference in the angular size. That told me that it had to be due to the magnification due to refraction. Okay, so this is where all this is coming from. So when people say, look, this turbine is cut off 90%, it's not. It's been magnified to look closer than it really is. So then I said to myself, well, how can I actually, if this isn't proof enough, right? I mean, this is proof enough for me, just based on the observation. But if it's like, how else could we prove it? Somebody want to say something?
No.
Okay, so then I said, well, how can I prove it? Well, what we can do is you can get what I call real, true angular size that an object should be. So you can go online and you can do a calculator to say, if an object is 20 miles away, and I know the height of the object, let's say it's 100 feet tall, that the angular size should be, and you can actually get it in pixels. You can say it should be, 1,000 pixels tall, right? So then what I did was, now unfortunately I can't show the analysis I did because it's one of Tim Osman's photos, and he told me I can't use it to prove flat Earth, or to try and prove flat Earth rather. So unfortunately I did.
Hang on, that'll be fair use. You can.
Yeah, you can
ignore
do
what Tim says.
Yeah, you can put Tim's stuff on.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let me do it.
Yeah, it's covered by fair use. You can't censor reality.
Right. Yeah, and it's definitely a criticism.
He also can't claim he's a cartoon. So yeah, I'll just make that disclaimer.
Well,
now. If you want to claim this, Tim, yeah, I'll need your full name and your address so I can serve notice when I appeal it. So feel free, but you will be giving me your name and address and making it a matter of public record. There you go. Disclaimer out the way. Feel free to use whatever you like.
Cool. In that case, here we go. So I use this image that Tim likes to present. So to do all this, I needed all the metadata from his camera that he gave me, and I needed all the distances and all that. So the distance is 26 miles from where he is to these buildings. The camera data is 357 millimeter zoom with focal length with a P900. That's as far as the optical zoom will go, and that's what he said he used. Then I needed the height of this building. It's 420 feet. From there, I can calculate what I call real or true angular size. The true angular size is 830 pixels. I used an online calculator from a guy who's a photographer who created it on his webpage, and I can show you if you want for documentation purposes. But basically, the true angular size is 830 pixels. Okay. The true angular size of the upper portion is 398 pixels. That stops where this red line stops. So everything you see from here to here is either additional due to magnification or due to mirroring or inferior mirage or refraction, however you want to describe it. This green line is the angular size with refraction that the image shows. In other words, it's if you were to just look at this image and say, oh, I want to see what the angular size is, right? You come up here, you pull it down, you say it's whatever pixels. You can't do that because the image has refraction. Okay, I was trying to explain this to Tim and Rumpus. They're doing it wrong. So when Rumpus pulls up Alkay's wind turbine and says, oh, the angular size is from here to here, well, you can't do that if it's refracted and magnified, which is what I'm proving it is. Okay, so the image shows the angular size is 1106 pixels. That's 33% more than the true angular size. So what the whole point of this is, and I'm about to be done, the whole point is they would take this image and they would do what they call blink test, right? So they'll take a photo of this or something, they'll shrink it down, and let me just do it real quick. Take 2 seconds. They'll come over here. They'll say, oh, look, the blink test shows the building, the building should be way down here. Why is that? Okay, that's because they're using an incorrect angular size. The blink test should stop here. Okay, that's the true angular size when you take out refraction. Now, here's the catch. They're still going to say, well, look, you're missing this from here to here. Okay, the problem is we know that refraction, angular size, perspective, angle of attack, right, whatever you want to call it, diffraction, all these things can account for a missing bottom. The biggest issue, the biggest thing this proves is that when they do these blink tests, you're gaining or losing, depending on how you look at it, that much space because of refraction. Now, can I explain why it's happening or what exactly is going on? No, I can't. But that is the fact of the matter. Now, I need to do this with another photo. I'm going to do it with Alkay's. I really want to do it with Jose's blue and white tower, but I don't think he's going to have the metadata from the camera because it was from a video, and I don't know if he's going to have the focal length and all that. I will do it with Alkay's. Rumpus isn't giving me the original, and he's not telling me how tall the turbines are. But I will do it, and I will prove this same thing is happening, and that they're using a refracted, magnified image to try and prove curvature.
Okay, before everyone interrupts,
thanks for the presentation, Chris.
Exactly. Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. Excellent.
Can I just say something, Chris? You know, when I said to you that I would go and do this for you.
Hold on. Is there anything else you want to add, Chris, before we thank you and round out?
Nope.
Brilliant.
I mean,
I think Physics Warrior was
Nathan,
first.
the only thing I want to address is that we're not also addressing the wavelength function of the magnitude of the ocean. It's completely an independent medium. It does cause a difference of latitude. So, I mean, that's another part that can skew that can give the obstructions for on the ball side, and they're missing that part of that visual.
So could I just say that I did say that I would go and do as you asked. You asked me to go and film some. Well, I said I would go and film some wind turbines for you, and I did do that. I did exactly what I was intending to do. I did that yesterday. I did one from 50-foot elevation and one at 10 feet elevation with a 1700 focal length.
Hold on. Let me get you shared. Just give me a second.
Okay. Tell me when I'm shared.
Yeah, it's just going to take me a little bit longer, just because I want to get it shared to the Hangout as well.
Okay.
Okay, can everyone say everything? Is everyone happy? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Ranty.
it's a little bit blurry, but
Okay, well, I went down and I took these images in 4K. So I've got a set of 6 images, 3 from a 50-foot elevation and 3 from a 10-foot elevation. The same turbines, 1700 focal length. And these were the 2 images. So from the high elevation, for instance, you get to see this turbine in the background, but it's not really evident in the lower image. But the one thing that I did notice once I lined all these up is the depth of the inferior mirage. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little line through where the inferior mirage meets the horizon at the high elevation, which is about that depth there. But yet when I place it next to the inferior mirage that starts on the bottom image, can you see that it's about 60% of the full height of the depth of the inferior mirage, which says that the inferior mirage is much thicker the lower we go down. It holds a greater area of the image that you're taking. It takes up more pixels. So from a higher image, the inferior mirage is thinner, and when we go down lower, it's greater. And because it's greater, it appears that that's what's hiding this turbine in the background. That's the way I see it. Is that this depth of the inferior mirage is big enough to hide this for a start.
Right, Ranty. So that's one of the
Would you like these images?
Yeah. What's the distance?
I'll figure it all out for you. It's like I took the images. I've just put this together whilst you did your presentation. I'll have to check all the details, but
okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want these images, you can have them. I'll give you the data.
Yeah, if you have the metadata and the distance.
Yep. So.
Cool, Ranty. Right, that was unexpected. Thank you very much. This has been a really cracking show so far. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ranty. Thank
Chris,
you,
I've
Chris,
got
as
a question
well.
for you.
The other Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
On Dim's video picture, would you agree that the aspect ratio of the buildings in question is different to the way the buildings actually look? They appear to be squashed.
Yes.
He doesn't tell people that, does he? He won't even admit that. The fact that it's squashed means that you don't need as many pixels to obstruct the bottom bit, because
correct,
it's being squashed for some reason. Now, even if, regardless of the fact that they do appear to be squashed, I don't see how it's possible on a sphere that they would appear to be squashed. But this phenomena does seem to be there, and I don't know. It just needs to be addressed, because basically Tim tells people that there's a missing X amount of feet curvature, and he doesn't compensate for the squashing effect. I was just wondering if you could comment on the squashing.
Well, there's a lot of things that the ballers won't admit refraction can do. So I still have ball people tell me that refraction is light bending around a curve. I'm like, that is complete brainwashing, because when you first get into flat Earth, let's be honest, nobody knows about refraction unless you're right in some sort of science field or light field. Nobody, maybe you've heard about it, but you've never researched it, you've never studied it. Most people, I'm gonna say, right. So the ballers are in the same camp. So they join flat Earth or ball Earth research. They get their information from ball earthers, and ball earthers say, oh, well, it's light bending around a curve. But what they don't realize is, no, it's just light bending through the medium, right? The atmosphere. You can have refraction on a flat plane, and I guess you can have it on a curve. But the point is refraction can do many, many things, and they don't account for those many things that it can do, or if they say they do, they're not accounting for all of them. So Rumpus will show his turbines and say, oh, I've accounted for the inferior mirage fold line, but it stops at the water line. Well, how do you know that's where the mirage line stops, right? We've all seen videos where the water line rises and lowers due to refraction. So what if the water line were to lower due to refraction? That's where your missing point is. The bigger part is what I just showed, is they're not accounting for true angular size. They're using the refracted image to do their angular size calculation, which is the trick. I figured out the trick. So when you do that, so this one is on Tim's is 33% more angular size with refraction than without it. So the trick is you use an image that shows magnification due to refraction, and say, aha, look, oh, here's my blink test. It's missing 75% of the bottom. Well, no, if you account for refraction, you reduce the amount it's missing, and then that is more easily explained when we talk about perspective, angular size, and the mirroring band and refraction band being able to cut off the bottom quarter, 25% of a building.
Yeah, there's loads and loads of things to take into account. We recently had this with Tim Osman himself, detailing a list that I don't think he made, and he came on the other day and was like, what's the excuse today? It's like, well, there's plenty to take into consideration. The refractive effects based on the atmospheric conditions of the day, the angle that you are taking the picture of, the available angle based on your elevation, the obstruction that can be caused from the water itself based on stuff Ranty went through yesterday, the sea level isn't sea level, there's more to it. So all of these things are a cause of stuff in the distance getting smaller. The biggest one being the fact that it simply gets smaller with distance. Perspective itself is the main hijacking here, but there are so many other things that you could take into account on top of that aren't necessarily the sole cause of an effect, but are ultimately something else that needs to be taken into consideration when it's just asserted that every effect is just Earth curve obstruction, based on their begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculations. So yeah, there are a multitude of things, and this is yet another one. It makes me smile, Chris, it really does, when someone like yourself looks into this and just scratches their head like Ranty does and so many others do, and go, well, what actually is causing this then? This is strange. Why do we have this effect? Well, you get low to the deck, you're looking through an absolute shitload of moisture, and presumably it's magnifying it a bit. You get higher, you get above that, it doesn't. So that's what you've discovered. But the trick, the swindle, that's the bit that makes me smile. So they're applying it to the image itself, not actually calculating how big that item should be, i.e. the real calculation of from feet and inches to angular size based on its actual height. They take the image, right? They do it with the image. How much is missing from the bottom? Look, here's my blink test with another image that's taken from a completely different angle at a completely different distance of an item of a completely different angular size. It's just a complete hijacking, that's all they'll ever do, hijack perspective. And that's the visual representation of that, isn't it? Because the blink test, they've got a completely different angle of view. They're so much closer with the one that they're comparing it to, so that the angular size values are totally different. But they'll compare them because in their mind it's still the same feet and inches value in both pictures.
Chris, Berry.
Yes.
Nathan, would you mind presenting my screen, please?
Yeah, sure.
When you were talking about refraction then, I'm not sure if you've seen this one or not, but...
You're not presenting at the moment.
Yeah, Soundly, one of Soundly's.
Well, what Soundly did was he did his little Tensor Bayou experiment. A light over every mile or so on the bridge stanchions over Pontchartrain, or I think it was Little Tensor Bayou or whatever it was. But we're looking over 6 miles here. Now, whether the Earth's curved or flat, what this demonstrates is that if I was to put a straight line through, it doesn't matter where the line sits, just a straight line, you can see that all of the lights interact with the line independently. They're not acting in unison. So basically, light doesn't follow a curved path. It deviates from straight in all directions, up as well as down. If light did follow a curve, then basically these would all be a curve. But there's times when the lights are all above, like now, for instance, the lights go above the straight line, but also drop below it. So even on a flat plane, the effects of refraction is just basically wavy. It can wave up or down depending on the conditions at the time. But let's just say that light did follow a curved path on either model. Light can follow a curved path on a flat plane, just exactly the same as it does on a sphere. Okay, it goes further around a sphere, but they've still got to prove that it's a sphere to claim that it's following the curve and bending behind the curve. So even if light does follow a curved path, they've still got to prove that it's spherical. And that's the bit they just assume. They assume it's spherical and claim refraction and bendy light. But Soundly himself demonstrated quite beautifully, actually, that light they all interact differently at different points along the way. They dance independently. They don't follow a particular curved path. They don't follow a straight path. They follow a deviation from straight in all directions. And it depends on all the variables all the way along that line. It's not just the beginning or the end, it's every point in the middle, and this video beautifully demonstrates it.
Can I share one more thing?
Sure.
and not to hijack your point, but to add to it, and it's a brilliant point. Let me just share. It's actually from Soundly too, and it's another image that Rumpus uses. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
I don't know how clear it is, but so this top. So keep in mind this is from the same distance. Oh, here's the crazy thing. It's from the same distance and the same height. Look at this building here, how squashed and compressed it is, and now look at it here.
Which is what we see in Skunk Bay. Have you seen Skunk Bay?
Is what we see in Skunk Bay, absolutely. But what they would say, Rumpus, so here, Rumpus is trying to say this image is loomed up, which is why you can see more of the building.
Yeah, it's complete nonsense. What's happening is it's stretching and shrinking So that means that that means on the Skunk Bay footage, he thinks that the clear effects of refraction in the background with that faded mountain in the background, he thinks that that's demonstrating looming.
Absolutely, he thinks it's looming. I told him, Rumpus, you've got it backwards. This is showing compression and the rise of the horizon. This is showing this is more of what reality would be, right? The building isn't skewed. Look at it. It at least in terms of proportionality, it might be some compression at the bottom, but you've got an almost perfect square.
Chris, can you see the tall building where you've got your mouse, and then you've got the building next to it where you've got the move your mouse over to the right? Yeah, the next
yellow
one. Next
the yellow one. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and then you've got that bright yellowy orange splodge next to it. Right. Yeah, that there. Yeah. Can you see whatever height that's at is presumably just above street level, and you can see it in the other image. So if that really was looming, that light wouldn't exist, would it?
It's just been compressed to hell.
Correct.
And if you look at the big building and you look at the yellow piece next to it, they're the same height on the top image.
Right.
You can even see them two the two yellow dots on the left-hand side where your mouse is.
Yeah, you can either side. It works.
Yeah, you can see them two that look like they're below the horizon. They could be in the foreground, actually. They may not be on the horizon.
Well, see, so what they would do, the ballers would say, look at this and say, well, where does 90% of the building go, Anthony? Right? And you would say, oh, well, it's been compressed. And they'd say, well, you can't compress that much of a building. But we clearly see that you can.
Yeah, you can see the street lights.
Unbelievable.
You can see the prominent street lights on both pictures, so it can't be going behind curve, can it? It's clearly compressing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Ranty, before I get off, did you see this one?
I'll just say shout out to Earth is Seriously Fact for hitting the super chat. Thank you very much for your support.
Ranty, did you see this one? I don't know if you were on when I was presenting earlier. I just want to make sure before I jump off or before I stop sharing.
Yep, I can see it. Yep.
Okay, but you heard me talk about it?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Is 10th Man there?
Also has the same videos.
Who does?
Sorry, I was.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, here's the thing. If you see, you know that top image that he's presenting. Oh, you've gone, have you?
Yeah, I unshared.
Hey, Anthony.
Okay, so
there you go.
Can you see how strong the waves are?
There you go. I'll put you back up, Chris.
Okay, hold on. Sorry, in this one? Or this one?
No, with the turbines. Yeah, there we go. Has Rumpus given us any indication of what his elevations were in this?
Well, let's read it. 2 photographs of a wind farm in the North Sea with windmills at a distance between 36 and 45 kilometers. So 36 kilometers, 22 miles. Does this look like 22 miles? No. First made while standing. So he says he's standing on the beach. So let's give him a 6-foot elevation. Second, while standing on 24 meter. I don't know what meters to feet is. Was that 75 feet about? Is it 3 meters a foot? Something like that.
Yeah.
So it's the same distance. So this, if you were talking about this one, it's let's say 6 feet. I don't know.
About 80.
It says on the beach.
About 80. Just under.
So if he's 6 feet, right? Do we know what the ocean swell was on that day? And do we know what the amplitude of the waves were as well? Because when he thinks he's 6 feet, if he thinks he's standing on the beach and he's 6 feet above actual sea level, which is where his toes would touch the water, if you've got a swell of, say, a couple of meters out to sea, and then you have the wave height, which is probably let's say an amplitude on the waves of another 2 feet or 3 feet, If his toes are touching the water, right, and he thinks he's 6 feet above the water right there, when he's looking out to sea, he's effectively 9 feet. Well, he'll be 3 feet lower than the water he's looking over, because those waves and the actual sea swell will be 9 feet high. So effectively, he'll be looking up. So the blockage will be just due down to the swell and the amplitude of the waves. And you can see it's cresting there.
I was just about to say, you can see the white water cresting, so you've not exactly got a mill pond, have you? And it's higher, right. And therefore, in the foreground, a greater angular size blocking something of a smaller angular size. This is all perspective.
Well, cresting waves happen at around about 27 kilometers an hour, and that gives you an indication that those wave heights are at least 5 feet in height, which means the amplitude of them are 2.5 feet at least, right? And that's just a given from the wind waves. That's not including the swell either. And typically you'll get swells between 1 meter and 3 meters. So when you start adding all that onto the actual wave heights and such, the amplitude of the waves, suddenly when you think you're 6 feet above the water at the shoreline, you're not, because the waves out to sea and the swell are already higher than where your camera is.
Right. One more thing to point out again. I keep saying one more thing, but I keep thinking of all these things. I've had this going for a couple days. Rumpus saw this and he freaked out. He said that this is because the guy had a different zoom, when the guy clearly says, well, this image is covering here. Same distance, same zoom. That is the unbelievability of this, because you wouldn't think just by raising 80 feet that you would go from something that looks like this to something that looks like that. If you compare this angular size with this is about 2 to 2.25 times as big as this, just by raising the camera.
No, I can believe
that. Really unbelievable.
I can believe that on account of the fact that when he's lowered, he's obviously got a much more limited angle, and therefore you're only seeing the stuff that occupies the near foreground. Whereas when he's higher, you can see the stuff that in the top image was occupying the near foreground, now occupying just the bottom section of the wider angle. So in these two images, it's for the audience, but what we're effectively looking at is just this section in the top image. So we've lowered our angle, and therefore this has raised to form the new horizon. So it's about here-ish, and we're looking at what's here in this picture. But that's all you can see because of the limitation of the angle upon reduction of altitude. It's not simple stuff, but it's certainly stuff that, I don't know how well acquainted you are with Life is Short when he went through his presentations, but he's made it clear enough for me to be able to summarise it now.
Yeah, Life is Short is fantastic. I mean, honestly, this is just really, he can use it. This is addendum information to his research and presentation. So, by the way, because literally every baller I've shown says it's the zoom. So I tried to reach out to this guy and I said, can you confirm that in the wind turbine image, the only thing that changed was the height to 24 meters, the focal length, zoom, and distance were identical. So because it's such a brutal, devastating point against ball earth model, because a ball earth model doesn't account for this. So if we can prove, which I believe I already have with Tim's, and like I say, I'll do another one, whether it's Ranties or Alk's, whoever. If I can prove a second time with, by the way, math, an angular size, that this is magnification due to atmosphere, and Nathan, you're perfectly right when you say the lower you go, A, it's changing the angle, and B, you mentioned this earlier, you're looking through more atmosphere. It's thicker at the surface, whereas you go 80 feet up, it's not as thick. You can see farther. Everybody knows that. It's a massive blow to the ball model. So Rumpus is a little bit scared right now.
Another shout out to Earth is Seriously Fat. Thank you very much indeed for smashing the super chat.
I think the main thing to consider here is we don't have all the data, the relevant data. We just have some guy claiming he was off the beach. So, what do we take from that? Do we take that he was 1 foot above the water that he thinks? Was he 6 feet? Was he 10 feet? We just don't know. But one thing we do know that's evident in the image is that we have whitecaps on the top of those waves, which says that those waves are at least 5 feet in height. That's from the top of the crest of the wave to the bottom of the wave. And for all we know, those waves could be much higher. And just now I'm presenting like Rottnest Island, the swell forecast for today in Australia. That's not the wave height, that's just the swell. And if I just hover over right now, we've got a 2.1 meter swell, which means that 1.05 meter, or effectively what, 3.5 feet of amplitude on just the swell alone. So when your toes are at the shoreline, the swell that's happening out to sea, 3.5 feet of that will be swell across the whole ocean. And then you have to add on top of that the height of the waves that are out in the distance as well. And when we start looking into all this kind of stuff, we realize that when we type in 6 feet above sea level or 3 feet above sea level, we're not. And that image, if those waves were higher than his camera when he took them from the beach, you know, if the swell was higher and the tide and the height of the waves were higher than his camera, then that would be exactly what we would expect to see. Bottom of the turbine's cut off because he's looking into waves that are higher than him out to sea.
Right. The waves that are nearer to him have a greater angular size than the turbines that are far away. It's a perspective effect. Something in the near foreground can obscure something in the background, even if it's small. Simple as that.
Indeedy.
Right.
But we need more data. You know, I don't know how Rumpus can just show this stuff and just claim it without having all the full data. We need the information.
Any obstructions curve, Ranty. That's his rule.
What I find weird is that on their model, the ball model, the ball always rises. It's like you're sitting inside of a concave on a hole, practically always rising in every direction. But if in their model, wouldn't you be standing on top of a ball and everything falling down, going towards the floor? I mean towards a downwards direction?
Well, it should be. You know, everywhere you start, where you right now, you're the highest point in the world, and the person next to you is below you. It doesn't matter if they're an inch away from you or 10 feet away. They're still lower than you. You're on the highest part of the world, if you believe them, and everything is down from where you are. It's just falling away.
Hey, Nathan, before you close out, is Chris still here?
He's still here. Well, both of them. Which one?
Is it the Chris that was presenting the shot that had the different elevations?
Yes, Chris
Yes,
Berry,
I'm here.
AKA Red Tretrick.
Oh. Hey, Chris, could you emphasize what your point was with change in elevation? What is your point?
Yeah, can I do the screen share again?
Yeah, I'd like to see it again.
Please.
Are you talking about this photo specifically?
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, everyone should be able to see everyone else.
Okay, so John, are you talking about this set of photos?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's kind of hard to summarize in a short breath, but basically, I theorize that looking at an image like this, where they say, "Oh, look, 80% of the turbine's cut off due to curvature," some just didn't sit right with me, and I'm like, well, if these turbines are 36 kilometers, 22 miles away, you wouldn't see this, right? It's too big. The angular size is too big, and it just so happens that in this particular case, the guy raised his elevation, same distance, same zoom, and this is what we get. Now, this is more what I'd call true angular size, because when you're looking at this, you're going through thicker, denser atmosphere at a lower level. You raise the camera, you're going through less atmosphere. So the theory, the hypothesis, if you will, is the lower you are, the further something is away, the more atmosphere you have, the more magnification effect you will get. The higher you are, the less magnification effect you will get, and you will get a more accurate angular size than in the lower image.
Thank you. I needed you to say that. So your point is magnification.
Yes.
Thanks. That's all I wanted you to stress. Appreciate it.
Oh, Yeah, I sorry, I didn't know if you were trying to say I was wrong or not, or if you had a question. But
No.
the
I wanted you to
ballers.
stress. I wanted you to stress your point, because we're not. This isn't bottom up. We're not concentrating on bottom up obstruction. We're concentrated on something else here, and that's magnification. Is that correct?
That is my point. Yes.
Thanks.
And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, unfortunately, if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980 Live, then this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you, the live audience, for tuning in, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. If you need to keep up to date with the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
No, that was me. I brought it up, but it was a kind of a feeble thing.
Well, but somebody else showed a presentation. Why, Anthony?
I just wanted, because he said that he disagreed with the interpretation. I wanted to discuss what was his interpretation.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Sorry, I was mid-yawn.
Hey, Anthony, can you hear me, Anthony?
I can, 10th man. I can, 10th man. What's up?
Congratulations on Liverpool yesterday. Best game.
Right. Shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat for smashing the super chat. Much more important than the football. Thank you very much for your support.
Super chat. Liverpool beat Barcelona 4-0 after being beat 3-0 in the first leg away. That's fantastic. It's one of the best comebacks ever in footballing history.
Can I just
Best
ask Chris,
game in their history.
Can I just ask Chris a quick question? When John was quizzing you about what your point was, were you a bit nervous that he was going to take it to pieces?
Yeah.
Yeah, so was I, because I thought it was a cracking point, and I'm like,
Oh my God, man, no. I wasn't. I just wanted
I was waiting for
that is hilarious, man. People are, I don't know. They just get paranoid. No, I just wanted him to stress the point. I knew where he was going, but I don't think everyone else got it in the audience.
yeah, he's showing one that's bigger than the other, and he's raised in elevation. The claim being that as you lower, there's more soup to look through, if you will.
Here he is. Shh.
Oh, shh. Ranty's here now.
I'm in both.
Oh.
Yeah, magnification. I did get it. I thought Chris made it really clear.
Could I? I know I'm going to ask again. Could I literally see that image one more time? It's just I want to.
Let me send you the link.
Well, you know that. Yeah, you know that buoy though that's sitting on the horizon. The buoy sat on the horizon. Do we have an idea of what height that buoy is? Because literally, if we stick another image, another buoy underneath that, and let's say that buoy is 6 foot high, that means you only have to have 6 feet of obstruction that blocks off the bottom of those turbines.
Yeah, you're getting a comparison for something in the near foreground and saying, well, based on this being, as you put it, 6 foot, let's just use the actual sizes, that's fine. But you're saying if you stack one on top, it would obscure all of it. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. So what, if you doubled the wave height, it would obscure all of it? Yeah. So it's just yet another thing on the list that's obscuring stuff.
So the magnification point to me is, from an optics standpoint, is one of the most important, because the ballers deny it's even a real thing. So again, Rumpus will say, oh, well, those images are different angular size because he used a different zoom, even though the guy said he used the same zoom. Okay, so Ranty, you made the point, well, how do we know this is even true? So point noted, and that's why I used Tim Osmond's photo, where we do have all the details, the distance, and the focal length, the millimeter, all that stuff. So even using his known data, I showed a 33% gain. Now, is it perfect? 100%? Maybe it's off here, maybe it's off there by a little bit, but I guarantee it's reasonably close. Now, again, I'm going to do another one with, well, Ranty, maybe I can do it with yours. Like I said, I just need to know the distances and the height of the turbines in your camera data.
Yeah, I'll certainly find it all for you.
Yeah, and the important thing is why they're kicking against the pricks with that one photo. You know that why they're getting angry, right? With the magnification.
The net's closing in. We're working this shit out.
Screw the magnification. I mean, I know that's a great point, but I know I'm looking at this from a different point. I'm literally looking at a solid line there without an inferior mirage. And I'm sorry that I've just said screw the magnification. I didn't mean to say that. But what I meant was, if you took this buoy height and put 6 feet and stuck it underneath, that's the height in the foreground of those entire turbines in the background. And that's just 6 feet higher than the waterline. And we know that it's cresting. We know that he was stood on the beach when he took this image. If we take into account the swell, the tide heights, the wind, the height, it's not the tide heights, the height of the waves, you know, it's very reasonable that it could just be the water that is obstructing it due to him being lower than the height of the water. It's just as logical.
Tidal bulge.
Well, not even tidal, but it doesn't have to be a tidal bulge. Generally, you know, if you've got a 2 meter swell and you've got 5 foot wave heights, that's going to be higher than you standing on the beach. And that's going to cause this effect where the turbines look like they're behind this water, because effectively they are behind water due to the movement of the tide and the water.
So basically, Ranty, what you're saying is on the choppiest of waters, we're going to get the most obstruction.
Yes. Highest swell, chop. I mean, look, you can see that it's cresting waves here. You know, I mean, look at this wave in the background, right? That's a tiny portion. In fact, here we go. We've got one part of there's the bottom of the wave. Hang on, let's do it in some colours that we can understand here. Do it in white, and we'll get it in pretty low down. So there's the bottom of the wave there, and there's the cresting part of the wave, and the rest of it follows like this direction here, right? Can you all see that wave?
Yes.
Can you see that wave?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, Ranty, I don't think you've got the bottom of the wave right. The bottom of the wave could be a lot lower.
But this is just the cresting part of the wave. What that means is that's the amplitude, and that is as little as 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet. Yeah, 2.5. If it's 5 meters, if we've got 5 foot waves, the amplitude of the wave is only 2.5 feet. So that 2.5 feet there of wave is half the height of the turbines.
You know what it's called? That effect.
Perspective.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of upward rising of the water due to the swell and the tide and the wave heights to cause this effect. It doesn't. And you can see how choppy it is. Look, the cresting. So we need more data, and that you know, I mean, it could be magnification, you know, but I just feel that it's more explainable like this.
Yeah, there definitely is magnification. I agree with that. And you can tell it's magnification because the pictures all appear to lose their contrast and they appear to fade. Like it's like I was going to say like not a mirage, like maybe the word I'm looking for, a hologram. It loses
It loses a bit of resolution, doesn't it? It kind of looks more blurry, is what you're saying.
It looks more like a ghost. Looks more like a ghost.
Which one? This one?
All of them.
They don't look like they're supposed to be hard, solid, white blades that would chop you in half, but they look like the Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Oh, I see what you mean. You mean that? Well, it just depends what they was filmed with. I mean, it could be filmed with a crap camera.
I know, but when you look at how the form looks on
that's the word. That's the word. It's
elevation.
Not resolution. It's definition. They've lost definition, not resolution.
Yeah, definition. If you compare it to the other one,
could it also be atmosphere distortion? I mean, a lot of everything that's in between the gas.
I mean, think about it. Those things are 22. The closest one is 22 miles away, and look how freaking big those are.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Precisely. Magnification. Is that what you were saying?
22
right.
miles. Did you do the curve calc on that? 22 miles? We don't know the observation rate though, do we, as well?
I don't even worry about curve calcs anymore. Rumpus has already admitted curve calcs don't work and we see things too far. He just explains it away with super looming. So
I got that too. I got that too with Red Pill, right? When he was basically saying it's the f-stop value, what the aperture. It's like, oh, brilliant. In that moment, it's like Rumpus basically threw his cards in.
Yeah, Anthony, he says he's working on your Isle of Man 24 mile?
I don't give a shit. He's been doing it for 18 months.
I know. Well, he says he's using a ray tracer program, and he put in the atmospheric conditions, weather, temperature, and all that, and he says he's got it loomed up, whatever. I'm like,
bullshit.
He's just
all he's doing is he's got like a Walter Bistlin style slider for the amount of refraction, and he's sliding the refraction up. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. How is he calculating refraction?
With a sliding scale that gives him more refraction when he needs it.
Well, is that terrestrial refraction?
Yeah, it's based on R.
If you look at the equation, the radius of the Earth of the sphere is in their calculations. Is there a problem with that?
Yes. It's a begging the question fallacy on steroids, as you phrase it, John. It's begging the question that the Earth's a sphere, then begging the question that light bends around the sphere at the sphere value.
Thanks.
For your assumption.
They do love to beg the question.
They love to wank the question off. They do it that much.
So was Chris's point magnification?
I just asked, Chris, was your main point? What was your main point? I'm a bit confused. Something about magnification.
Magnification due to refraction.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Right. See, and don't let everyone get confused out there when he's saying refraction. We're not saying that that light doesn't refract. That's not our point. Our point is when they invoke refraction, they're talking about a specific terrestrial refraction that already begs the question with the radius equation in there. Does everyone see that point? I'm talking to the audience.
That's right. And one other thing, Chris, I just want to say is that when we get this new stuff that comes out, it's like Jaron said to me when I talked about the stuff that I was talking about, it was new to him and he was a little bit, it took a while for him to understand it. And I think it's probably, like myself, I probably need to see this presentation a few more times, but I'm sure, that if other people are already on board with it, then it does have validity. So I do apologize for saying screw magnification, because it's just one of those things, it's like, it takes a bit of time to understand,
I get your point. I mean, so basically the reason I'm so excited is because up to now, as far as I'm concerned, it's been a theory, right? We've all seen pictures that we can't quite explain. We can sort of try, and then you see something like this where the turbine's cut off 90% and it just doesn't all add up, right? It's not fully making sense. But when you see Rob Skiba's video with the Fresnel lens, and you say, okay, well, if that can cut something off due to magnification, maybe the atmosphere is acting like a lens. So then I, come up with a theory. You see some images that don't make sense. Then you see this one that you've got up now, or you had up the one I showed with we've just been looking at for the last 20 minutes, right? And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then the guy goes up 80 feet, and all of a sudden it looks more correct in terms of angular size. And then I used Tim Osman's photo, and I'm like, that's it. It's proof. It's 33% taller, if you will, in pixel height because of the magnification. Like, I don't know what else to say.
Well, I have to say it's excellent. It's excellent work, honestly, and I hope you keep at this and do some more stuff. Show some more stuff just like this.
Yeah, I have to do more. I can't obviously stop at one. I have to repeat it and reproduce the effect.
Just when you go back into your rhetoric,
I don't think you have
stop
to.
talking about rockets.
I don't think he has to. I mean, you could do it like 5 more times, but you've already done it right here, haven't you? Or not you, but whoever took that picture, right?
One pick up in St. Helens and one drop off on the way home.
Hold on, I just mute Anthony. Hold on.
Thanks.
Okay, it'd be 6.
Yeah. So, Chris, how many more times do you think you have to reproduce this to establish veracity?
I'd like to do it once more, maybe a couple times with different images.
Okay.
Okay. But that's just me.
No, that's good. I agree. I thought you were saying, over and over and over and over again to, as for the reproduction, like reproducible experiment.
Yeah.
Right.
I was about to hijack that point.
No, I'm not saying it's an experiment. I'm just saying that for it to be a valid theory.
Go ahead, Nathan.
I'm going to nick John's point now. I had a conversation with John yesterday saying that when I finally twigged to the point that John's making, like ballers want to jump in, I want to jump in and make the example, but John's just made the point and I'm now stealing it. So, but with that disclaimer, what he's saying is there's a claim laid at our feet. So you present an image and you give your explanation as you've done. And then the ballers will say, well, you haven't repeated it, so it doesn't have any validity. And that's been hijacked again, of course, from the scientific method. So the repetition of systematic experimentation is part of the scientific method. But we're not doing that. You're just looking at something. So there is no necessity to repeat it at all. I think that's the point John's making. Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
No, that's exactly right. I'm sure he could do it a number of times, like maybe 5 times. I'm sure he's going to find plenty of examples, but then stop right there. I mean, you don't have to go anymore. For me, you already showed me just with that photo, it's over, right? For me, I'm just talking about for me.
Right. Yeah. No. Point noted. And yeah, I'm definitely not saying it's an experiment. It's a test based on a theory I had, based on observations that other people took, such as Ranty, such as Jose and Tim and those people. And yeah, no, for me, it's just a thing where I want to do it again to make sure, I double check myself. Maybe I did something wrong the first time. Maybe I jacked up the math, or who knows. But if I do it a second time and it shows a similar result, and I do it a third time and it shows a similar result, well, it's game over.
Yeah, we're not saying that you're saying that you're doing an experiment. That's not the point.
The point is, if you didn't repeat it, let's say you was run over tomorrow and all we had was this broadcast, it would have exactly the same weight. Exactly. What? If it would have the same veracity.
You told him that he got run over.
Yeah, I'm making the example that there's no possibility that he can repeat it. It would have no less validity or veracity as an assertion. It wouldn't be any stronger for you going out and repeating it. If you're doing it to your own satisfaction, that's a different story. The point John's making, though, is that you may well be charged with repeating it in order to make the point, and you don't need to. That's just a hijacking of the repetition when it comes to systematic experimentation. And again, we're not asserting that you're saying it's an experiment, but when people charge you with, well, have you repeated it? Well, the answer should be, why? Why would I need to repeat it? We're not doing experiments here.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
we're not saying that we're hoping that you get run over tomorrow.
But if you do, can I have your P1000?
I don't have a P1000, unfortunately.
Oh, then I don't care. You're better off dead to me. I'm just joking, Chris. I mean, Reds. So that was something else. Now that that's been concisely rounded out, I think I've got a pretty good ear for voices, and generally speaking, I've spent enough time in America to discern different voices from others. And there's a claim that you're Red's Rhetoric. Now, to me, you don't sound like Red's Rhetoric, but we've got a couple of Americans on the panel. There's a Scotsman that's claiming you sound like Reds. I don't think you do. Anybody else got an opinion on it?
Are you from Florida?
No, I'm in Texas.
Fucking hell, you don't sound like you're in
Reds.
Texas. He does sound like Reds to me.
He doesn't.
There are similarities, but to confuse them as the same person, it's like no.
No, Chris makes Chris makes coherent sentences.
Yeah.
Reds has Tourette's.
The best state in the
Yeah,
US.
Chris didn't say rockets once. If it was Reds, he would have said
Or
rockets
NASA.
like 40 times. Or NASA, yeah.
And they did also swore about 100 times already.
But the content doesn't go any way to dissuading somebody who thinks it sounds, or Chris sounds like Reds. In other words, that the voices are too similar. Whereas I would disagree with that. Forget the content, because obviously that would be different if he's here to shill and play two characters to laugh at us, ha ha ha. Which it's just not the case, because they don't sound the same, in my opinion.
No, not at all. Red's voice actually irritates the hell out of me. Chris doesn't do any sort
Well, that's why I
such
took
thing.
I took offense to it because, well, first of all, keep in mind this is from Pete Shea. He accuses everyone of being a shill or a paid agent. First of all, second of all, when I heard that, I was like, "Damn, do I sound that shrill?"
No, you don't. That's the honest answer. No, you don't.
Are you from Tampa Bay?
No, I'm from Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma.
You've not got a good reputation in this regard, Anthony. You know that, right?
What do you mean?
Well, you'd say, "Oh, are you from Venezuela?" And it'll turn out that the person's from the other side of the world when you play.
No, but it sounds like it does sound like you've got the same twang that Reds has got.
To an Englishman, have you ever been to America?
Okay, point taken. Right, Chocolate, would you agree that he sounds like he's got the same dialect?
Say no, please say no,
I
please say no.
mean, there are similarities, like I said, but the voice is completely different. I could hear it. It's two different people.
Completely different.
Completely different.
So, what was Chris's point again? Was it magnification?
Magnetism, I think. No, magnification.
Magnification, right. So, the more soup you got right there, it magnifies the image in back. Is that what you're saying?
Something about chowder or broth or something along those lines, yeah.
That's it. And honestly, I keep saying magnification due to refraction. I really don't know what the cause is. I'm assuming it's refraction. It could just be atmospheric water. Something was not dew, but what's the particles of water?
Cleansing.
Yeah, well, atmospheric cleansing. But I'm like, is it refraction or is it something else? I'm really not sure.
Well, ask yourself this: what is refraction? For light to refract, what's happening?
It's bending through the density
not bending.
of medium.
No, stop. No, it's not bending.
It's a deflection of light.
Right, it's changing course. So if it's getting bigger, would you say that fits the description of it changing course?
I think so.
Really? It's getting bigger as opposed to changing course. I mean, the word that's been used and abused and joked about is the right word. It's being magnified. You don't need you don't need to assert a cause. It's just ipso facto that it is being magnified.
Sure. Water vapor was what I was looking for. I mean, I don't know. I agree. It's being magnified, but I still, I mean, my personal preferences, I would like to know if it's a refraction of light or if it's a magnification due to water vapor in the air.
Yeah, well, no, it's not I wouldn't say it's refraction. It's a magnification. But if you you can guess at the cause and say that it's magnified because of water droplets in the air. You can make a guess. But yeah, it is magnification though.
Well, what magnifies light? That should be your next question, right?
I don't know.
Listen, guys, I'm going to leave you to it. Thanks for having me, and enjoy the after show.
Laters.
Thanks, Ranty. Top presentation.
Yeah, so magnification should be #1 on your research list. Is that correct?
Sure.
Next time you come on, I'll be expecting a small presentation on magnification of light. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Check it out. The teacher says. Homework.
I'm only messing with him, man. No, but halfway tongue in cheek, then that should be the next step, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, I mean, again, I corrected myself because I was just assuming it is refraction, and it sounds like it could be something else called magnification that is, that has a different cause than refraction. I mean, again, my assumption is it's something to do with the medium that light is traveling through, such as atmosphere and water vapor. But I just haven't pinpointed quite yet.
Sure, you got the effect though, magnification. So that I'd start running that rabbit down if I were you.
Maybe we'll get to see some steam-filled rooms with cameras set up inside them.
I'd run that down before you get run down, according to Nathan.
Just a hypothetical example where he couldn't replicate it. I don't want him dead. That's really killed the mood, John.
So
sorry about that.
One thing that since you talk about steam-filled rooms and the light scatter, everything like that, one observation I've been kind of noticing since I read the redacted paper of the CIA for the atmosphere lighting or firmament lighting was that notice when the sun is either down, rising or setting, there is diffuse shadow on, like, under cars or whatever, which makes me think, where is there more multiple source of light? Meaning sun cannot be probably the only source of lighting in our atmosphere.
Well, that certainly is the case. I mean, the sky itself is lighting. You have a certain level of sort of ambient, indirect lighting in daylight. So daylight isn't just sunlight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much one of the things that I had thought, that it cannot be the only lighting, especially if you go to any 3D program. If you put one light source, it doesn't. I mean, you always have shadows, like in houses, like in the back of a house or whatever, on a box, behind a box. And there's definitely some source of scattered light somewhere.
Got to be real careful with 3D programs because you can't account for all the variables in reality. That's why we hammer on models. That's one of the reasons why. You following me with that?
Yeah. Which one of the things that I was watching when Red Pill was arguing with one of those that one what was it, that one thing that happened last week. He had the 3D program, which he had that squared, where he's saying that it wouldn't disappear. It would stay. It just is this. They all depend on the what camera was being used or distance of the height of it. You're right. It doesn't attire to reality or whatever, adhere to reality.
Yeah, right. And then those variables are constantly changing. All the variables that you don't know are constantly changing. So it's really a circus tent joke if you really look at it straight on.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes?
Can we bring a new topic if we're done with this? I have a suggestion.
You can do what you like. Feel free.
It's because John's on the show, so I need his expertise. Hearing the first and second law of thermodynamics, I've been doing research on it, but it's not my cup of tea, but I'm learning more and more each time. The first law, energy can't be created or destroyed. And the second law, all that available energy is running out, obviously proves there was a beginning to everything. However, when certain people with certain ideas want to say on the two ontological primitives, the universe has always been here, they get stuck on that word created or destroyed. And I think sometimes that word created is being used in actual creation versus the system of the first law of thermodynamics being what it is in a closed system that we're in, meaning that there is a transference of that energy through work, and it takes state in another form, but it's running out, which proves there was a beginning. So if John could highlight that for me a bit.
Yeah, I see where you're running into the problems, and many people are running into problems with this. Let me try to explain it this way. Before you invoke the ontological primitives, the question whether the universe had a beginning or not must be answered. How about that?
Yes.
So you can't circle back. So it's a prerequisite condition that you answer the question of whether there was a beginning or not before the ontological primitives can be invoked. Once they're invoked, you can't circle back.
Agreed. Right? So use the second law to put in context the first law of energy can't be created or destroyed, but changes its state through work.
Is that a question?
Yes.
I didn't get the question. Say it again.
All right. I totally agree with your premise. But moving on to the first law, I think the disconnect for some people, well, let me say what I think it means and correct me if I'm wrong. I think when it says energy can't be created or destroyed, it doesn't mean that it's always been here forever. Meaning the negative
Precisely.
viewpoint.
Exactly. It doesn't deal with that topic. The second law deals with that topic, not the first law.
Thank you. Thank you. So when certain people want to use the first law of saying energy cannot be created or destroyed, they're really trying to say it was always here because you can't create it. But then when you go to the second law is just as strong as the first, and it's saying, wait a minute, but it's running out. So it had a beginning.
Precisely.
Right. So it's a moot point. They don't understand the created or destroyed in the proper sense.
Correct. They're circling back after it's already established.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
John.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in Skype, aren't you?
Yes.
I'd like a private conversation with you at some point.
How much money you got?
Got 2 ice creams, but I'll give you 5. But even though I've only got 2.
That sounds like you're being tricksy.
I'll give you 5 ice creams, but I've only actually got 2. But mathematically, I can do it.
Is that a hint to round out the show so you two can have a private
You can
conversation?
give me the -3 ice creams.
I just want to talk privately to John because I want to ask a couple of questions that might, if this is being recorded, might end up being deliberately made to make me look worse than,
Worse than you
however
already
they
are.
want to make me look anyway.
But that's impossible.
Oh, go on. It's only the after show. Hardly anybody watches.
Pardon?
Go on. It's only the after show. Not how many people are watching.
No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
Come on, the water's warm. No sharks.
No, I'm not doing it whilst it's publicly being recorded.
Right, well, in that case, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you joining us on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. If you need something to keep you occupied after this stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!